So now I just want to open the floor for questions, and I guess I'm just going to ask, the audience and the club members to try, let's try to, be even-handed with these three gentlemen, and when Joyce Krawiec gets here, we want to include her as well. Steve.
I just have a basic question for all three of you. Just a basic question for all three of you. What is your ideas on minority outreach? Spreading the conservative message and the Republican ideas to minorities and within their communities?
Jack, would you like to go first?
Yeah, just hello. Yeah,
Just all man mute switch.
power and mute. There we go. Yeah. Basically, coming out of Mecklenburg County, I have the pleasure of being good friends and having worked with Jimena Uribe, who is the National Republican Hispanic leader here in North Carolina, and she's helped provide a lot of good information as to some of the Spanish-speaking commercials and Latino commercials that we can run on the radios. And we've done some test marketing. The National Party has done some test marketing, and they've been quite effective. On the African American community, a gentleman by the name of Earl Phillips was one of my campaign advisors when I was running for Congress. He is currently the black minority advisor with the North Carolina GOP, and these are the people that I would go to for advice in how to outreach to that community. I think we have a lot of opportunity there. One of the downsides of having less than 10% of the black vote, of course, is having 10% of the last vote, but the upside is you have a lot of growth opportunity if we can reach out there and we can show to them why the principles of the Republican Party and the principles of conservatism are valuable to them and how they're going to help them to get out of their station in life and advance through and up through out of poverty and get into the mainstream of America. I think we'll do quite well in attracting their vote.
As far as outreach to the minority community, one of the problems that we have is we don't interact with that community very much. Some of you may or may not know that I'm a lay minister. I do a prison ministry. And in one way, for ministers, kind of nice. I've got a captive audience, so they're going to stay as long as I want them to. But as you can imagine, many of those people that are there are minorities. And for many of them, I'm the only Caucasian person they've ever spoken to. Literally. I mean, really, other than their schoolmates, that type of thing. But as far as an adult and having a conversation, we don't go out and we don't go out in the community. I've preached in a black friend of mine's church on several occasions. And I talked to him because he's he's conservative. He believes the same things that I do. And then when I talked to him about, well, why aren't you voting Republican? He says, we never see you guys. And I say, well, how active are the Democrats? He says, well, they're around here, and the first thing they do is tell us that whatever we have, you're going to take it away from us. And so they live on fear. And these people, they herd them to the polling places in an election to vote. He says, because they're not interacting with you. You don't come and see us. Now, I've done this tactic before. There was a church in Greensboro, and it's one of the largest black churches, and they wouldn't let me in. I wanted to come in and talk to the congregation. But with having black minister friends, I know how it works. So one Sunday morning, I got up, got my suit on, and I went to church. And I went to their church, and I went and sit down on the front row. And I knew that the usher would come down and visit me soon, and he did. Wanted to know who I was. And the minister, when he got up, invited me to come up and say a few words. And I had my sermon prepared because I wanted to let them know that my beliefs were their beliefs. Our thoughts were their thoughts. And we got some people that started becoming active in the Republican Party. A&T University invited me to come over, and I was the first Republican chairman to ever come over to A&T University for a radio show. So I went over there, and after being on the radio show, I had several people come to me and want to volunteer. We have to outreach to these people. We've got to go and talk to them. We can't expect them to come to us.
One of the things about outreach is it's a two-way street. It's how do you build a connection between two people. And you start that by having the conversation. You have to generate opportunities to have that conversation. I think as a country, certainly as a state here, we are rapidly moving past the day and age when race and gender are so divisive. We are finding conservatives of all races, colors, creeds stepping forward. When I look at this state, the most resounding victory last year was not even in November. It was in May, when 60% plus of the voters in North Carolina approved the marriage amendment. These were Republicans, Democrats, unaffiliated, probably even a few libertarians in there, that stepped up and voted values over party label or anything else. That platform that we have contains those very same values. We have to sell it. I believe it is best for us to think of ourselves not as a party of diversity, because we need that unity inside. I have a better word, it's called inclusion. We welcome anybody who believes as we do. It's why we have the platform. It is the rallying point that we all come together behind in unity to carry our message to the public. And I believe that if they see us standing firm behind those values, that is what will attract them to us. What will chase them away, what will keep them from us even faster, is seeing that waffling, that uncertainty on just really who we are and what we stand for. For me, that's the ultimate basis of unity, is showing them that they have a home here because you believe as I believe, as she believes, as they believe. And that will bring the unity to the party and expand our base.
Thank you all. Do we have another question? Robert?
Yeah. I am a legislator. I am a legislator, and and I've got 34 years of experience in this. Marcus has helped me through one campaign, I appreciate that. One of the things I see taking place, and has happened before, we had a good Republican turnout. A lot of it was from fear of our president. And now that we have Republicans in office, I hear it from my fellow legislators every day. There are a lot of emails coming in. You've got to do gun legislation this way. You've got to do voter ID this way. You've got to do immigration and the driver's license this way. What would you do to keep Republicans working together so that we don't have a drop-off in this next election, and we do have Republicans supporting Republicans and working together for common reasons?
You want to reverse it for fairness?
Sure. What we're facing right now is a level of engaged electorate unlike we have ever seen. There are more people paying attention to the political process than there ever have been. And most of them don't know exactly what it takes to get a bill through the legislature in Raleigh. And I remember just a couple of weeks ago, Joyce, please come on in and speak.
Our fourth candidate has arrived, Joyce Krawiec. She's also running for vice chair of the Republican Party.
And in fairness, since I had really not even begun to answer his question, if you'd like to let her introduce herself, and then we'll take the question.
Okay, that'd be a good idea.
All right. Can you hear me? Thank you guys for letting me be here, and thank you for letting me come late. I had another meeting that I had already committed to, so I had to rush to get here, so thank you for allowing me to be rude and come in late. I am coming to the game a little bit late, so I'm trying to catch up and go as many places as I can. And these guys are friends of mine, so it's going to be a fun campaign. I've known Marcus for 20 years, and I've known Dave for a few, and I consider them friends. Glenn I don't know as well, but he's a friend as well, so I'm looking forward to campaigning with them. I think I bring a different perspective to the race. I'm all about grassroots, as most of you know, and I love the energy in the grassroots movement, and I'm hoping that, I think the party has not done a very good job of bringing those voices to the table. And the good thing about this race is I think everybody who's in it is a grassroots person. So we're not going to lose no matter who wins the race, because we're going to have grassroots activists who know how to get things done. We know that races are won, candidates can win when we get behind them. The Dan Forrest campaign showed us that. That was grassroots at its best. And I love grassroots. I tell my Republican women friends, in the 60s, when all of my friends were protesting and getting involved, I didn't get out and protest. But when I hit my 60s, I decided to do one a week. So that's my goal, protest a week. And I used to do that for a while. Lately, they've slowed down a little bit. During the Obamacare debate, we were doing a lot of protests. But our party, first of all, I am Christian, conservative, Republican, in that order. And my principles don't change. Our party has not done a very good job. Our platform is wonderful. We have the right message, but like any good product, you've got to sell the product that you have. And we have not done a good job of doing that. And so I think that's where we've got our message is perfect when we deliver it and when we explain it. Democrats fear that people are not going to understand, and Republicans, when people understand, they agree with us. We fear they won't understand, and Democrats are afraid that they will. That's what I meant to say. But we've got to deliver our message, not change our principles. And the party has to embrace the grassroots. We have so many coalitions, and I've worked with so many of them. And during the debate of the marriage amendment, I was all over the state talking to folks. There were so many wonderful, energized people out here working so hard, and we weren't taking advantage of it as a party. We were not bringing those people in. And I think that's how we can become stronger and be the party that we need to be. Not by compromising. I'm tired of compromising. We're all about compromise, but if you've got progressivism, socialism, and fascism, or whatever you want to call it on the left, and you've got freedom and liberty on the right, we've been compromising that way for 50 years. We're all about compromise, but it's time to compromise toward the freedom side for a while. So we're going to compromise big time, but in that direction. And I think that I can bring that message to the party. I hope so. That's my goal anyway. Thank you very much. Here.
Now, to restate the question, because I'm not sure if you heard the question, and make sure I understood it right, what are we as Republicans going to do to ensure that we retain and expand the unity that brought us the victories in November? Is that a fair summation?
Well, to pull Republicans together, there are a lot of grassroots out there.
Right.
And they're coming in, at least they're coming to the legislature, saying it's got to be done my way or else.
Right.
I may not be there at the next election.
Right.
So what are we going to do to keep everybody working together so we don't have a drop-off and we do get people elected? Ultimately, yes.
One of the things that's confusing a lot of people is happening because it starts in Washington, where you have the liberal socialist Democrats that are currently running the country, and then you got everybody else. And in the media, that's painted as Democrat and Republican. And everything that's not a liberal socialist Democrat is getting lumped under the Republican banner. Yet 3 years ago, Chairman Priebus was the one who said the GOP is part of the conservative movement, not the other way around. And that's what I've been focusing on, was trying to help give definition to that broader conservative movement. It's not just the Tea Party. It's the Republican Party. We are the party of true conservatism. It's also the Second Amendment groups, the pro-life groups, the Faith and Freedom coalitions, the Second Amendment people. These are all part of that broader conservative movement. But what we lack is the definition and the boundaries between those groups. There are many reasons that we can and should work together, but we do not need to compromise our organizational sovereignty and our identity when we do. The Army and the Navy and the Air Force and the Marines are exactly that way. I've always said I'm grateful to guys that love to fly jets and guys that like to drive submarines and guys that like to roll around in the mud and blow stuff up, because it takes all of them to win the war. But they don't lose their organizational identity when they do. And that is the basis for coordination, communication, cooperation, and collaboration, those 4 C's between the Republican Party and all of those other conservative groups. We're ultimately all on the same side. And the more we respect those boundaries, the easier we'll get along and the more effective that we'll be. Good fences make good neighbors. Is it a 3-foot fence? Or is it a 6-foot fence? Or is it an 8-foot with concertina wire on top? And that depends on the mutual respect that is built up between those groups and our respecting each other's territory and our boundaries. We all have different capabilities. I'm glad the Tea Party exists, because you can do things as a Tea Party that you can't do as a Republican under the party banner. But we have to shape that dialogue and provide that clarity that no, it's conservative, but just because it's conservative doesn't mean it's Republican. Now, these coming fall elections, these local municipal elections are critical, because these are a lot of nonpartisan, and this is a perfect chance to push the conservative message, not just Republican. Have conservative victories. There are conservative Democrats that are just frustrated that they tried to take God out of their platform in Charlotte. They're looking for a new home. And they may not run off and register Republican right away, but we can give them an excuse this fall to at least vote conservative, to start having that conversation and win them over before we hit 2014 and 2016. Thank you.
Joyce.